Welcome to a Wiser Retirement Podcast. Before we get started with the episode, I wanted to let you know about a new free ebook available on our website. This ebook goes over the top reasons most financial plans fail and covers what a quality financial plan should consist of. The link to download Top Reasons Most Financial Plans Fail is listed in the episode notes. Now on to today's episode.
Welcome to a Wiser Retirement Podcast. We believe the best financial advice should always be conflict-free. I'm your host, Casey Smith, and guiding you to financial freedom today is my co-host, Brad Lyons. Hey, Brad.
Hi, Casey.
Happy New Year.
Well, thank you. Happy New Year to you, too. Here we go. Another year.
Another year of a Wiser podcast and Wiser Wealth Management. Had a great year despite some crazy stuff in the market. So
it has been a crazy year in the market.
Happy to have a great team surrounding us and happy clients and all that. So very, very grateful. Looking forward to this new year as we get started. So, this is the time of year when everyone starts setting goals. They do crazy things like work out, go to the gym, walk the neighborhood. You can't drive anywhere because there's people everywhere walking in the streets. You can't go to the gym because the gyms are full. So I thought we would take a little track and talk about, the theme this quarter is financial success is intentional, meaning it doesn't happen by accident. It takes discipline and execution, right?
Right.
To make something happen positively financially in your life. It also takes, and I will add it, sometimes it looks easy. Sometimes you see someone, they're like, oh man, they sold their business and they got a boat and big house and multiple homes. And you think, man, that guy just has it easy. You have no idea what sacrifice it took to get them to that point.
Exactly.
Exactly. And even generational wealth is the same way. Sometimes that third generation forgets the hard work it took to have that generational wealth to begin with. And, looking at people that surround myself who are very successful, I say, man, it's definitely not stress-free, meaning the path to get there. And so it's probably much like working out. Some days you're just like, oh, I'm so sick and tired of this elliptical, or I don't know if I can do that one more rep. And you got to push through, right? Because you got to learn how to set goals. And that's something that I think we do very well at our firm is set goals, not at the detriment of other people, though. As you know, we help almost anyone who walks in the door, but we have to, when we set goals, we have to be very intentional about it. So I was going to kind of walk through that process with you today and how we set goals at Wiser and how that can translate to help our listeners.
Setting goals is kind of an interesting subject matter in and of itself, because it's not just the achievement and the intent to achieve a goal. It's it is prioritizing your time, your energy, your efforts, and your resources towards a goal. So really, goal setting and prioritizing are very similar.
Yeah.
But in the vernacular, goal setting sometimes has kind of a negative connotation, with people, doesn't it? I mean, trying to get them to set a goal. But if you talk to them about relative to prioritizing, it's a completely different conversation. So,
I like setting goals that seem a little far-fetched, but even if you achieve a quarter or three quarters or maybe a half of it, you still have achieved something that you should be proud of, right?
Exactly.
From a business standpoint, top goals are like exercise more, learning something new, managing your money better, spending more time with family, maybe traveling more, or even prioritizing even mental health. Could be something that is a goal that you set for yourself. There's also, could be a goal of setting boundaries. Some people are yes people, and we see that sometimes in our clients, they're doing this and doing that, and you meet with them, you talk with them, they're just worn out. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you have to tell people, no, I can't do that. This is my time to myself.
Right. I mean, there's the qualitative type goals, and then there's the quantitative style of goal setting. So qualitative is something like setting boundaries.
Right.
Okay. mental health issues, taking care of that, putting yourself first in some of these instances. Quantitative would be more like, perhaps financial or specific goals, whether it's measurable and achievable, and you can decide exactly when the goal has been achieved. More qualitative is more, not necessarily quite so measurable, but you'll know it when you've achieved it.
So we read here that there's a 21-day theory. So if you do something for 21 days or more, it becomes a habit, and it's easier to stick and incorporate into your daily routine. 21 days. So do that walk for 21 days, and then it just becomes a habit that you have to go do your walk that day, right?
Well, the theory is that on the 22nd day, you would miss it. Okay, it's part of your daily routine,
right? And
now all of a sudden you're out of that routine. Setting yourself up for a new goal is really to disturb in some aspect, your current behavior. So you're changing your current behavior, and during this period of 21 days, as we're talking, we're adjusting to that new behavior with the rest of our life around that. So then if you stop on the 22nd day, and this is the point, now all of a sudden you're disrupting your new behavior, and it's upsetting to yourself, to your system, and to your eco environment around you. So that's why it takes time to do that, to settle in all the other aspects of your life while you're changing one pattern of behavior.
So let's talk about a popular way to set goals. We got to set SMART goals, all caps.
SMART's an acronym.
Yeah.
It's also kind of a interesting name because it implies that
you're smart
and that there are unsmart goals or stupid goals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So what's a weak goal?
Something that's vague and not very specific overall. And you can think of many examples. I want to do better. I want to,
right.
I want to exercise. I want to save more money, that sort of thing. It's not specific.
Yep.
And you have no way of knowing if you've ever achieved it. And you have no time frame associated with it to know when it's been achieved.
Well, typically a goal that's set properly would start off with, so let's go with this. I want to save better. I want to increase my savings from $10,000 to $50,000 over the next 12 months. Right?
Right.
And I will do this by, and then you lay out
the plan that you have for
the plan that you have in order to get there.
Right.
Right.
So in that goal, look what you've done. You set a goal, and it was specific.
Yep.
50,000.
And measurable
because it went from 10 to 50. You gave yourself a time frame in which to do it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it's achievable because you know exactly what your income is and expectation, what your expenses are. So you know that you can work that into your budget. And it's relevant because it has to do with all your finances and that you're working with every single day.
Right.
Towards a larger goal and greater scope beyond that, perhaps even.
So SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So specific is the goal should be very precise with no room for misinterpretation.
Right. So in your goal, save from 10,000, increase it to 50,000. Very specific.
Correct. Measurable should be quantifiable, and the progress should be easy to track.
Every pay period, you're going to put in X amount of dollars, and you'll see that bank account grow by that much every pay period.
Should be achievable. The goal should be attainable, not outlandish or unrealistic. So we didn't say we wanted to go from 10,000 to 100,000.
Right.
Or maybe for some people 50,000 is unrealistic. Maybe it's getting to 20, doubling savings or something like that. But
maybe so. But
the point being that for you, it's realistic
and achievable.
Goal.
Right.
Should be relevant. The goal should contribute to your broader overarching goal. So obviously having more in savings allows you to absorb life's curveballs. Right.
Mm-hmm. So to improve your financial situation.
You're not sitting there on the credit card.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then it should be time bound. So you have a defined start and end date.
Right. January 1, 2023, December 31, 2023.
So if your savings account's doing just fine, maybe the goal is I want my family to be have more knowledge of money and how money works. I want to set up good habits for the next generation. So that you can be measured by saying that you're going to do a Dave Ramsey Financial Peace course as a family.
Right.
Right. And obviously it's achievable, it's relevant, it's time bound, because once you start the program, you got to stick with the program.
That's
and
right.
Finish the program
They're
on
offered
time.
on a regular basis, so you can schedule it, et cetera.
So that could
Right.
be a family goal.
Right.
Same way with the gym. I think with the gym is, I want to be more physically fit. I think that's pretty general. But if you said I want to lose
X amount of weight.
Or
Well,
I
there's
want
all
to be
sorts
able
of
to
measurements.
lift.
Yeah, I want to be able. There's all
lift
sorts
so
of
much.
body fat. You can measure body fat,
Yeah,
right? I want to
that's right.
reduce body fat by X amount. Okay, I want to increase muscle structure and muscle tone by X amount, et cetera, and lose weight, et cetera. Along the way, and all these things today are measurable, mostly through your watch.
Yeah, I mean, you can stand on a scale every morning; it'll sync up with your phone and keep track of all your vitals all day long, just right there on your watch. So,
right.
Yeah,
and you can measure your
those
progress
things.
or something like that. What's really interesting that also is these sorts of goals, these SMART goals, are best shared with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what happens when you
partner.
share? Okay,
Yeah, you're held accountable.
You're held accountable, aren't
That's
you?
right.
And you're creating a team around you for encouragement.
Yep.
Okay, and accountability, like we
Right.
mentioned. So, sharing goals is a very important thing in order to provide success.
Or having other people also, do those goals with you.
That's right.
Along the way. There's a book. It's called The 4 Disciplines of Execution. So if you're a business owner or a business manager, that's a great book to read about goal setting as well, because they have you set a goal that's kind of wild, right? But ultimately you have leading indicators and lagging indicators. So for example, our goal here is to have 99% or higher client retention rate. And so our leading indicator, our lagging indicator is that percentage looking back.
Right.
Oh, and we track that over 5 years. So right now we hold a 99% client retention ratio over the last 5 years. In order to maintain that though, you have to have a leading indicator. And so our leading indicator is client review meetings, which is why we get so aggressive and like, hey, we haven't heard from you in 12 months. You need to get in here. We have bonuses centered around that. So our goal is to make sure that at least 85% of our clients have come in to see us over the last 12 months. And it's not 90 or 95% or even 100%, because unfortunately we have people that are so comfortable with us, they just don't want to do review meeting. And so, unfortunately for us, it's flying blind sometimes. So we don't know what's really happening in their life. And there's a couple of cases we hear through friends who are also clients here. And, we have to reach out through email or something and say, hey, we heard this was going on. Is everything okay? But ultimately, you want to make sure that you're meeting with at least 85% of our clients. And then, so if we do that, then that client retention ratio tends to be much higher, right? We know that. As if we just did it like, all the big brokerage firms do. They don't have regular meetings with their clients because they have like 3,500 people assigned to one advisor. And there's just no way they can do that. And they don't generate revenue that way. They generate by selling product, and they've already sold all the product. So the client's kind of worthless to them now. Right? I mean, that's the truth. That's the difference between financial sales and financial advice. And unfortunately, most of our industry is financial sales, not advice. Although it very much blends together in marketing for sure. So that is that's a great way to do that. Another way, if you're growing your business, you might set a goal of say, okay, I want to increase my revenue by 20%. If you want to increase your revenue by 20%, how many more widgets do you have to sell, right? And so your goal is I want to increase revenue from January 1st to December 31st of 2023 by 20%. Then your lagging indicator is your sales, right? Your sales goal number, but your leading indicator is the number of leads that you have.
Exactly.
And that, hey, if I meet with 100 people this year, I can increase my revenue by 20%. I know that 60% of those, I'm just making these numbers up, 60% of those are you're going to close. So therefore you need X number of closings, right? So you can always have a subset of leading and lagging indicators focused on that. But what's interesting is when you set goals and you have those written down, you have them visible, is that when you're busy doing something else, and sometimes you get to that point where, okay, what should I work on next? But you glance up and you go, oh, I'm a little off on that goal. I need to make this phone call, or I need to do this. Then it makes it your focus.
Right.
And so ultimately, whether it be in business or your personal life, it translates. And so that's what I've done with my own kids this year. Now, my daughter is really good about it. My son, he's good, but he just has to be prompted a little bit. But for my daughter, who's in the horse world, it's very expensive. And so I don't want to be going to horse shows just to go to a horse show because we're going to a horse show. I want to know what the goal of that horse show is. Doesn't mean we have to get a blue ribbon. Doesn't mean any of that. It just means that, so her goal that she set was she's at the training level and she wants to get to the modified level by the end of the year and hopefully be able to run an FEI event. So basically that's borderline like where the professionals run, right? That's the lowest level. And ultimately, in order to do that, she has to attend these shows, right? Mm-hmm. So, what's interesting is she starts realizing herself, she says, well, because we have two horses. We have one horse that's the athlete and one horse that is the barn horse. That was the first horse that is still around for sentimental reasons. But that's the horse that I ride.
Okay.
When I go trail riding, I ride that horse because the other horse is like me getting in a Ferrari. And if I push the wrong button, I'm going to die. Yeah. Right. So I let her do that. And then I ride the horse that is just kind of, happy to be there. Right. And she realizes, well, his name's Malik. I really shouldn't take Malik and Spartacus to these shows because if we don't take Malik, then that saves us X amount of dollars. And he really has no reason to compete because he's kind of the barn horse now until, we find a new home for him. So for her, that saved me money because she did the goal setting of going, well, there's really no purpose. That doesn't help me achieve my goal by doing that. Right?
Right.
Now she does have to ride him at the home barn to keep him in shape. But that's what goal setting does. It allows you to go, oh, well, what's the purpose of even doing this? For my son, he's got a full ride to Mississippi State on the golf team now. He's a junior in high school. So what's the point of playing in all these junior tournaments when you've already achieved the highest level that you can get, which is, in our opinion, SEC golf, D1 golf, right? So for him, he's going to have to set goals that probably focus more toward amateur events, probably more workout goals to get ready to qualify to play. Because just because you're on the team doesn't mean you're going to go play every week. You're going to have to qualify in order to go with the team. So it's setting those type of goals. So I would encourage you to help your kids set goals for themselves so they're used to that. They're not just out there, just doing this just for the fun of doing that. Let's set a definable, measurable goal.
Well, these are great examples because it shows that goal setting isn't just a one-time deal where it's one goal 12 months from now. Right. There's the ultimate goal, the achievement award, if you will. But between now and then, there are several goals that you want to achieve, and they're measurable points along the way. So the different events, qualifying for them, participating, competing in them, to go to the next one, to go to the next one, go to the next one, that finally leads you to the end goal. So by having these multiple shorter term goals within a longer term goal, it allows the individual to experience positive reinforcement along the way as well. And that helps for people who want to go to the gym, who want to, save more money, who want to, pass classes at college, et cetera, that along the way there are measurable points, that can be considered short-term, intermediate-term, and long-term goals, and feel the positive reinforcement of achievement.
Yeah, it's that feeling that you're successful, or if you fell short of your goal, what do you need to do to go back and regroup and and try it a different way. And it's okay to fail.
It is.
It's okay to fail.
Yeah. If you were along the way and it came up short, it's measurable, and you just have to see, was there something that I could have done different between when I started and when I finished that caused me to come up a little short?
Yep.
Okay. And then adjust that for the next time period moving forward from there. So, yeah, that's actually learning experience. If you set the goal, and this is something you mentioned earlier, if you set the hurdle, too low, what was the point? What was the achievement?
Right.
It's almost like in a classroom environment where there were some teachers or professors who didn't believe in the concept of scoring 100 on a test, because that truly didn't measure that person's full capacity for having learned.
Right.
Okay. So a 99 should theoretically be the highest score on a test, because it challenged even the brightest person in the class who came up just a little bit short. But that by measuring, so you set that back at 100 in that case, and then everybody's in line from there. But if you set the goal too short, too small, too easy, it's fun to achieve, but you didn't achieve much. You didn't really test your own energy level, your own ability to succeed in that environment.
I think having goals means that you wake up every morning, your feet hit the ground, and you're running with purpose.
Yes, and you're prioritizing your time and your energy and your resources, because it has the purposeful.
And for some people, their purpose is to get up, get their kids dressed, get them to school, right? And then after that, they kind of wait for them to come home, and you're that mom or the dad, stay-at-home dad. There's a lot of purpose. It may not seem like it at times. But ultimately, when those kids leave, then what is the purpose? We see people have a hard time in that transition, much like retirement, which we talked about in prior podcasts. But ultimately, if you don't have a goal, you don't know what goal is set, you're not quite sure what your purpose is. There's a great book by Donald Miller called Hero on a Mission. And you might consider downloading that book and reading that. Don does it something a little strange in that he's written his obituary. And so himself, and this is what he wants to be remembered for. And he's reverse engineering his life by going, this is the end game. We're all going to die. This is what I want people to have thought or written about me. And these are, the lives that I want to have touched. And then he reads that every morning, and that sets his day. That's crazy. People are like, why would you ever read that?
I've heard of this sort of exercise before. It is extremely difficult.
People have a hard time with death as it is, right? But
if you want to be remembered for something, you have to have done it.
You have to have done it. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So ultimately, I think, Hero on a Mission is going to take you through that journey a little bit. But that book is, it's actually, he did a one-day webinar one time. I know you took that class, but the book kind of goes more into depth. And this man definitely has a purpose. He cranks out like 2 books a year, I think, maybe 3 business books a year.
Yes, and prior to that, he was a best-selling author.
Blue Light Jazz.
Yes, which was turned into a film or movie, I believe, too.
A movie and maybe a play as well.
Yeah.
So it's and his success, he's not some highly educated MIT. He actually graduated. He actually never went to college, which I find somewhat refreshing. Statistically, you won't end up like him if you don't go to college. I'm not saying don't go to college, but the point is that he grew up really poor, and he figured things out, and now he's writing books about his journey, and I think he might end up as a politician at some point. There is definitely some politics in there that kind of comes through at times, but ultimately, there is a path. Everyone should be on a path,
right.
Their path, and I think that's one way of finding that, right? I think we're a wealth management firm. We're supposed to only work with like people with $1 million or more, right? And I find for us, as a firm, we all have something very in common in that we all want to actually help people. And so it's very interesting. We had a lady coming yesterday. Now, she is a client. She's a good client with us. but she has no children. Her husband passed away a couple years ago. She's just really sad about it. And I ended up having to like cancel most of my day to sit down with her to figure out how to get her bills paid automatically, right? And how she was out of money. She was overdrafted by like $2,000. She spent $500 in overdraft fees last month. Just crazy stuff. But there's no one looking after her. And so sometimes you have to stop your day and go, okay, I'm going to make a difference in this lady's life today. And just do what we have to do. And so that's the mission of our firm is, are we leaving lives better than the way that they came to us in, right? Financial lives. And that's not the point, pat me on the back or us on the back, but that's something that we can do in a business that's usually just about the bottom line, to make sure that we're leaving a mark on our community. So even if you don't own your business, you still have the ability to help people in your company and your workplace or your play place or wherever that might be, right? You can make a difference in people's lives around you. So maybe that's something that's worked into your goal.
And that can be infectious. For example, if we spend our time, our talent, our energies, our gifts helping somebody in the area that we can, it allows them to expand beyond that because they have time, they have talent, they have energies, they have reasons to help somebody else in the area that they can have an impact, who can then help somebody else in an area that they have gifts and talents and to help somebody else. So it really has to start with somebody, and why not us, right? It's to your point. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Starts with each person individually, for sure. So again, SMART goals, that should be your goal for 2023.
To have a SMART goal.
To have a SMART goal. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and bound by time. And whether that be working out, helping others, donating your time, money, energy, or maybe something career-wise that you want to achieve. Whatever it is, I would write it down and let it be somewhere where you see it every day. So it reminds you of how to stay on track because there's a lot of distractions, right?
Yes, there is. And share it with someone.
Yep. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, Brad. Great conversation. Good. Happy New Year, everybody. We look forward to next week's podcast.
Great. See you in 2023.
Thanks for listening to a Wiser Retirement podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Make sure to subscribe wherever you're listening, that way you don't miss any new episodes. We would also appreciate if you could leave a rating and review. If you have any questions about anything that was discussed today, head to wiserinvestor.com and reach out. We would love to hear from you. This episode was produced and edited by Lilton Moore.